Kind of crazy that there are so many matchups in the game. There are a few I feel like I haven't actually seen or studied very much. This is one of them, although from the outset I can see how it could potentially be tough for the Beastmen. Historically, they have struggled against certain types of large monsters, although they aren't completely bereft of ranged units, so something like an Exalted Great Unclean One they could potentially kill with their Ungor Raiders, which we do have a few of here. This replay from Highland Archer via Discord sends me from some bangers from time to time, and this is definitely one of them. We've got a great Bray Shaman lore of Wild here. Looks like some Centaur's throwing axes out on the flank. Ungor Spearman Herd with shields, and Minotaur's weapons in the center, so lots of anti-large here. Gorgon as well, yeah, pretty much all anti-large melee force. And then some more Centaurs throwing axes over on this side. For Nurgle, we've got an Exalted Great Unclean One. Has the quote-unquote Mortis style effect in melee. Very strong. Also an enormous amount of HP. Lore of Death. A really interesting choice. I mean, Nurgle does have its army ability heal, but I think it's bugged right now. I think all the spread abilities are bugged where they don't actually spread. I need to double check, do some testing on that. Might have just been me, but this has Fate of Buno, which is really interesting. Just looking for DPS, I guess. Anyway, yeah, then the Nurgle Marauders in the front line. We've got a second line of some Warriors and an Exalted Plague Bearer in the center. Yeah, and then some Knights and Horsemen as well. Let's get things rolling. As these chaotic lines collapse and the Beastmen start to draw some units out, potentially. The Spearman Herd, 30 melee defense against 29 melee attack. They should do okay, especially with Minotaurs following up. I mean, that's going to significantly change the outcome of this, but is it super efficient for these Minotaurs to be fighting the moldy Marauders? It's hard to say. But anyway, yeah, Ungor Raiders will be a great pick here because of their speed, their stock. And even though they don't have the most damage per model, they have 120 unit models, which gives them an immense volume of fire. Does a great job counter-firing various units. We see Traderkin being used here to debuff the speed and also deal significant damage to the Exalted Great Unclean One. Excellent use of that spell. If we take a look at the spell loadout here, Traderkin and Bray Scream for the Great Bray Shaman. But the speed differential is an important factor in this matchup. I personally think they should remove the speed debuff from Mark of Nurgle, because it's a significant impact. But this is a matchup where the Beastmen kind of have higher than average speed, right? Chaos. Nurgle has lower than average, certainly. So as long as these Beastmen units are able to stay moving, they should be able to stay out in front. But right now, just grinding in melee. The Minotaurs did punch through the Marauders very heavily, but took some nasty volleys, all of the Death's Heads from those Exalted Plague Bearers. And Exalted Plague Bearers have quite a bit of weapon strength, so the unarmored Minotaurs will take enormous damage in melee, especially in a surround like this. But those Ungor Raiders have something to say about it. They are absolutely peppering in here. And Exalted Plague Bearers have a lot of HP to work through, but still, those Raiders should be able to get it done over time. Exalted Plague Bearers have no chance of catching the Ungor Raiders at 40 speed with Primal Fury active. Checking in the center fight, though. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not going well for the Bull Boys. Minotaurs, one unit is still alive and is tangling in the back line, mopping up these Chaos Knights of Nurgle, which again suffer from that lower speed. Actually, it looks like the Minotaurs are going to disengage here, try and collapse this Knight that's supporting the Exalted Plague Bearer and allow the Gorgon to just grind it out. The Gorgon can, certainly, with its self-healing, but right now, Nurgle has had the local support advantage mostly in this area. So the duel is not going great for the Gorgon, and, I mean, the Exalted Great Unclean One also just has an enormous amount of HP, like I said. But a nice Traderkin comes in, and the Gorgon's getting his own healing, doing a little bit of terror routing on these Warriors and Marauders. Yeah, the Warriors actually, in particular, will be quite tanky, but let's see. Right now, it's still very close. Really, both players more or less trading evenly. Minotaurs doing a nice job in here with their anti-large going after the Knights primarily. That's really the best target for them. They can do a lot of damage to the Great Unclean One if they get a surround, but have to get us around first, right? Which requires getting rid of these support units, as the Chaos player here is doing a great job keeping his Great Unclean Ones supported, and at the same time not over-blobbing all into one area. But let's see here. Marauder Horsemen of Nurgle going to be disengaging. Gorgon kind of came over to grind it out on these Plague Bearers, regenerate his HP for a little bit, but again, in this round, they do enough damage to kind of keep him more or less where he is. He's really not going to get much of a net gain fighting in that engagement. But Beastmen are having some troubles in melee at this point. We take a look here out on the boondocks. These one Ungor Raider is still skirmishing and kiting that Marauder of Nurgle, which I think they're close to the same cost. That's actually probably cost effective for Beastmen. But it's going to be a lot of kiting from here on out. Might fast forward a little bit, but the Gorgon will continue to fight in melee. It really doesn't, I mean, they have the speed. I think it could probably outrun a lot of this stuff. Yeah, not with poison and with the low vigor state too. Also will be significantly slower than some of these Nurgle units, but he's going to try. Looks like a little Bray Scream there. Traderkin also on this blob of remaining Chaos Knights would be quite devastating. Probably finish off, well, for sure, at least this one unit. Do a lot of damage to this other unit as well, but instead we're going to see, again, some kiting. I'm not really sure the magic state of Highland Archer's army here, but Ungor Raiders should be quite clutch, and the Gorgon's leadership covering decently. As long as it can recover some more HP, fighting low tier stuff should be just fine, but let's fast forward a little bit through this kind of kite phase. Ungor Raider spears rather get slowly fed in, and the Raiders are the ones doing the damage, right? Handful of Minotaurs come in. I love this pick also. The Centaurs coming in, using their superior speed to just pick off these Marauder Horsemen. Same thing over here. Pick off these Marauders of Nurgle before they can get back and reinforce this main army, and really just use that mobility to your advantage, because obviously it's the hallmark of the Beastmen. Another nice Traderkin comes in, and we get a big engagement here. I say big engagement. It's really just the Gorgon and the Exalted Great Unclean One with a smidgen of spear support, and the boy himself, the goat himself. Great Bray Shaman here, clutching his Forbidden Rod, doing damage to himself, which is super risky at this point, but he really needs some more Traderkins to finish off this blob. Nice Bray Scream there, especially on the infantry will deal some damage, but one more Traderkin. Again, probably finish off this knight if he can get it while the knight's in the blob. Let's see. Will he offer himself up as a sacrifice? Pretty big brain move, but it is super risky. Ungor Raiders, though, still lots of unit models. Even this one that's taken damage is still, I mean, at 57, actually. Not so much, but this one here has 94. That's pretty great. Caster, if he routes, oh yeah, there it is. He was risking it for the biscuit, and it all pays off as Speed Trough serves up some more Winds of Magic, and that leads to another devastating Traderkin. This one, yeah, the Knights are indeed routed. Centaurs might be able to come in here and kind of chase them off if they play a little patiently, not to get terrified by the Exalted Great Unclean One. But Bray Shaman pulls away, and the Ungor Raiders should have enough ammunition left at this point, more than enough actually, to finish off 2,000 HP of the Exalted Great Unclean One, but then they also do have to finish these infantry as well. Let's fast forward. At this point, the Beastmen are in a pretty good position, actually. They've kind of got Khorne, or Nurgle rather, right where they want them, but a nice terror route from the Gorgon before he flees the field, and then the Ungor Raiders, their clutch bows, finishing off the great stinking demon. Man, I love Ungor Raiders. They have long been, I think, one of the best low-tier archers, and kind of not even necessarily low-tier in terms of the costs. I mean, look at a lot of other archer units. They're pretty much down there, but I mean, the speed is one big one that a lot of people kind of underestimate, right? Especially in a matchup like this, it's absolutely massive. The fact that these Ungor Raiders were able to just run from even the basic Marauders, just have no chance of catching them. And that is a big deal, certainly. I almost might go 5 Raiders in this matchup just because I don't know if there's not a lot that Nurgle can do about it, except maybe spam like toads and dogs. Actually might be a good idea, but then that's why you got the Minotaurs here. I like this build, actually. It covers a lot of bases. Centaurs with throwing axes also do a great job against the heavy cavalry of Khorne, as we saw there, and just generally being a good support unit. Minotaurs don't necessarily pay for themselves, but doing enough. And certainly the Gorgon, although it did take a beating there in a couple engagements, the survivability, as long as you can keep it on the battlefield, is quite high. And some devastating Traderkins there. Such a strong spell, and one that many people overlook. If you're not a Beastmen player, if you haven't played them much, one that you might not be familiar with, but it is a really nice AoE direct damage. And the speed debuff, too, again, very applicable in this matchup. Super interesting. Is this King of the Dead, by the way? Interesting. Anyway, Exalted Great Unclean One also got some great value there. The Knights of Nurgle, the one performed actually much better than I was expecting, looking at the builds of paper. I also, on paper, rather, I also quite like the Exalted Plague Bearers here. They did a really decent job. I don't know that I would take more than one, but yeah, I would actually, considering the performance of the Warriors. But let's see. Yeah, the Marauder Horsemen, of course, very nice for Nurgle. Great tool to have in your toolkit, but ultimately just getting a little bit overmatched by Beastman's mobility. Excuse me. So there you go. That's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, that bell notification for more content. Share it with a friend. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.